All right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here today. We do have a quorum, so we'll call this meeting of the Committee on Interstate Cooperation to order. We have one bill we're going to consider today. I know there were two that were briefly mentioned on the. We do have a sign-up sheet, and it looks like we have some people who've signed up. We'll get that. Thank you. We do have one bill that we're going to have under consideration today. This is a hearing only. It is a complicated bill, but it deals with a very important subject that's important to so many families across Georgia. When you look at the breadth of services that social workers, all the different types that we'll hear about today, the different types that are involved, the quality that they bring. These currently obviously are under a board in Georgia. This bill today will discuss a compact that would potentially change some of the guidelines from inside Georgia to across a multitude of states, thus allowing people to move into Georgia, we hope, more promptly and rapidly and easily, and service the patients that we have, the families, and those with challenges. I am going to go on and I apologize. I will have to leave to present at another committee as well, and so Secretary Mike Cameron will take over. But if so, I'm going to go on and recognize the bill author. If you can get us started, Chairman Dempsey.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the bill that I have, can you hear me? The bill that I have for you today is the substitute to HB 839. It's LC 520372S. This is dealing with a compact. It's a compact, as the chairman said, particularly focused on social workers. And there is no doubt that one of the lessons we learned, particularly during COVID, was the shortage of social workers that are needed throughout our state. So what is this licensure compact? Georgia does have, just for your information, there are 8 other current compacts in Georgia. Audiology, speech language, pathology, interstate compact, the counseling compact, EMS, interstate medical licensure, nurse licensure, occupational therapy, SIPAC, and physical therapy compact. So this is not new, but it is going to be a great tool for us if we can pass this. So the social worker licensure compact is an interstate occupational licensure compact. Interstate compacts are constitutionally authorized, legislatively enacted, legally binding agreements among states. The compact will enable regulated social workers with bachelor's, master's, and clinical licenses to serve clients in every state that joins the compact, rather than going through the licensure process in every state where they want to practice. Like the compact for a driver's license, each social work licensure compact member state agrees to mutually recognize the licenses issued by every other member state. To qualify for a multi-state license, a social worker who lives in a compact member state must hold or be eligible for an active, unencumbered license in their home state. Social workers also satisfy the requirements associated with their category of license. Bachelor's social workers, master's social workers, and clinical social workers have access to the compact. A social worker using the compact to practice in another compact member state must abide by that state's laws and regulations. There are approximately 500,000 licensed social workers in the United States. Despite the high demand, licensees are limited to providing services within their own state borders. Georgia is a border state, and I think that's something for us to recognize as well. Where I live, up in northwest Georgia, Alabama, and Tennessee are quite easily accessible. They're parts of our state where South Carolina and Florida are minutes away as well. The Social Work Licensure Compact seeks to increase access to social work services, provide the licensees with opportunities for multi-state practice, and support relocating, particularly military families. The study for this was funded by the Department of Defense. It is one of their major projects to make sure that social workers can move as their spouse relocates as well. The benefits for licensees: it will ease the mobility for them and expands employment opportunities into new markets, allows for continuity of care for clients who are moving to a new jurisdiction or who frequently relocate. It leverages technological innovations like telehealth and supports relocating military families and spouses. The benefits for licensing authorities: it will create shared data systems, which reduces administrative burdens, provides rapid access to information on licensees, investigations, and discipline, and it reduces application processing time. It will expand cooperation among member states on investigations and disputes and enhances public safety. The benefits for a state: so for our state, it will provide a tool for addressing workforce shortages and strengthening labor markets, and expand consumer access to highly qualified social workers. It will preserve state sovereignty. The compact requires 7 states to be a member for it to become enacted. Currently, there are 2 today, and there are 25 other states like Georgia that are pending this legislation. The Conference of State Governments, CSG, has been very engaged in this conversation, realizing the need that we all face in our states to address many things that social workers can be engaged in, from private practice to schools to simply helping with every single mental health challenge that we face as a state. That is kind of the outline of it. There are, you may have some questions. I know it's a big measure. I understand this may be a hearing and not a vote, but I'd be glad to take questions. We also have an expert here, and we have a couple of letters to pass around as well for y'all to look at, some information about it. I will, if that's okay, Mr. Chairman, I'll be glad to pass these around, some support statements and a map that explains it a little bit.
Okay. Chairman Bonner, number 7. Go ahead.
Good. Hey, thank you, Chair Lady, for bringing the bill. Quick questions for you. What 2 states are currently in it, in the compact?
I know I should know that. It's on this map right here. Let's see. South Dakota, Missouri.
And
Sorry.
then, how do you know approximately how long does it take an individual to obtain a social worker's license in Georgia?
You know, our licensing requirements will stay just exactly as they are. I may need an expert to say how long it actually takes to get the licenses today. And there are different levels of licensure.
Right. Okay. Well, let me move on to the kind of the final question I had. So we are there is a bill that is moving through that is licensure by endorsement that should address this same thing. Essentially, if someone comes into the state of Georgia, regardless of whether or not they're a military spouse or not, if they come into the state of Georgia and they meet all of the requirements of Georgia, that it's essentially an administrative action, much like with a real estate license, right? It's not the real estate license doesn't require the action of the commissioners or the board members, just simply the staff if they meet all those requirements. So given that scenario, do you believe that the licensure by endorsement model would accomplish the same thing as the compact?
I don't really think that it would. I mean, I think it would help, no doubt. That's a good place for us to start. But the reality is there still needs to be strong oversight. And each and every state has many different specific variables. So for a social worker to come here, they have to be it's their responsibility to know what the laws are here. And that's a good bit to kind of deal with, and the oversight of the board that would be developed would really, I think, be very important to it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Lady Chairman, is there testing specific for Georgia law? No. Okay.
As far as testing, I mean, the
For
requirement
them to come in?
No.
There's
This
no-
will create a national exam, not a
Oh,
national
national, okay.
license. You'll be licensed in your own state, but there will be a
National exam.
national exam that then you can move if your state is part of the compact.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So just clarifying on that, so this would basically mimic kind of like how we have a bar that allows other people to practice in different states, and then if they need to, they can take a supplemental somewhere else. What we're trying to do here is something similar, where that it's same test. That way they don't have to worry about, for example, getting, just like a lawyer wouldn't have to take the bar in multiple states. If they take the universal bar, this would be something similar where it would be a universal exam. They wouldn't have to, for example, if they're moving around a lot that year, take the exam in Georgia, then in Texas, then in Tennessee. Okay. Thank
That's right. It helps with the workforce in exactly that way. You're exactly right.
All right. Any more questions from the committee? Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chairwoman. One other question related to, if we pass this and Georgia becomes a part of the compact and someone has obtained their licensure in another state, they can come here, ask for the same or similar licensure. On page 11, it talks about issuance of a multi-state license. Is that just the terminology for that process?
Talking about in the bill?
Yes.
That is the terminology. They will not be licensed in another state. They will be licensed in their home state, and the definition it specifically speaks to home state.
Got it.
And so, along with that, in the home state, if they require additional courses as you go through practice, as many professions do,
Right.
it will be that home state legislation, laws, and rules
govern.
and policies they follow.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions? We have some people signed up to speak.
I think, do we have a few speakers? Yes, that signed up.
Ms. Johnson. Yeah, Ms. Johnson, if you'd like to come to the Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you for coming today. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Trinice Johnson. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I have been since 2000. I started in Louisiana, where I'm from, and then I came here to work, and I was able to get a license in Georgia as well. My practice is 100% telehealth, which is online, and this Interstate Compact Bill will allow me to see and provide my specialized services to even more clients outside of the state of Georgia. So that's why I'm in favor of it.
Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, that's it.
All right. Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Mrs. Xiao. There we go.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Jeannie Sao, and I am also a licensed clinical social worker and past vice president of the NASW Georgia chapter. I obtained my license in Oklahoma in 2009, and then when I moved here, it was quite the process to obtain my clinical license in Georgia. I understand from working with supervisors around the state that they have many people who are moving to the state who want to begin practicing, but the backlog in navigating the hoops that are not clear is slowing down providing specialized services in this time of a mental health shortage. I am in favor of this bill to smooth out the process, and the ACSW has provided essentially a national exam that's the same for most states, if that answers the representative's question from earlier. We are all tested on the same material. So in theory, this compact will ease the process for people moving into and moving out of the state. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for the witness? Go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. Let me ask you a couple questions, and thank you for being here. Seriously, it takes a lot to come up here and sit in front of people and listen to questions, and thank you for being here. Let me ask you, the test took how long?
The test, the entire process, you get your bachelor's degree in social work. You then get a 1 to 3 year long master's program.
Okay.
You graduate. You can immediately take a test, the licensed graduate social work, licensed master's of social work. In Oklahoma, you were required to go under supervision for 2 years, meeting weekly with a social worker to get your license. When I moved to Georgia, the licensure requirements were a little bit different. The test itself takes about 4 hours, but you can't apply to take the test until you have 4,000 practice hours past master's degree.
Okay.
It varies from state to state somewhat. Some are 3,000, some are 4,000, some are, it varies, which is part of the reason why we would like to streamline the requirement with the compact bill.
Okay.
Did that answer your
Yes,
question?
it does. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Are there any more questions?
And I'm sorry if you may not know this, maybe someone else. And if somebody said it, I apologize. Any idea how many social workers Georgia produces a year?
I don't have a number. I just know we need more. I know that from the work I do in mental health, particularly the shortages in schools are huge. I'll find out.
Yeah,
I want to say there's maybe 8,000 licensed clinical social workers in Georgia.
Yeah, how many Georgia produces? I guess a part of my concern would be, I mean, I know we need more. I would love to see that more be Georgia-grown, Georgia-trained individuals. So just curious as to that number. So,
We'll find out.
thank you.
All right, any other questions for the witness? All right, our next witness will be Jamie Lord, representing the Georgia Society of Clinical Social Workers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I'll be brief because I don't want to be repetitive. The organization I represent, Georgia Society for Clinical Social Workers, is very much in favor of this legislation. We've taken our cues from some of the other specialties in the mental health and space that also have similar compacts and kind of learn from them how it's worked, and we're excited about the opportunity. As has been mentioned, we have acknowledged in this state over the last several years that we face a mental health crisis. We believe that clinical social workers are a key to solving a lot of that, but we don't have enough of us in the state of Georgia to meet the demand that we have. And one of the reasons that this bill in particular is extremely important to the organization that I represent, and maybe this could help speak to Chairman Bonner's question, whereas a licensure by endorsement might help with people moving in, one of the things that Chairwoman Dempsey brought up is continuity of care. So if you're already seeing somebody in the state of Georgia and they leave the state for a period of time, or maybe permanently, if they want to maintain that client therapist relationship, then there really isn't, unless the therapist wants to go get a license in that state that they move to, just for that purpose, it just makes it harder. And I realize even still, they would have to be moving to a state that is also part of the compact, and it's not going to solve all the problems, but Hopefully we don't have anything like COVID to deal with anytime in the near future, but this would have been something that would have been very helpful. And there were rules during that time that were relaxed to allow for continuity of care. But moving forward, who knows what we all face. But with the advances of technology and a more mobile population, this at least helps with the people that are licensed in the state of Georgia serving those that might be outside, not so much about bringing as many more, social workers in, although that's also important to meet the demand. So yeah, we see this as all a good thing and maybe in concert with other efforts to ease the burden of licensure when you're moving in and out of states. But we're happy to see it, and I don't know that I can answer any questions, but if you have them, I'd try.
You had a question. Representative Campbell, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming, and to all of our guests for coming today. Really appreciate it. It might be interesting for us to know all the different places where social workers are employed independently and in other industries, to give a sense of how wide and pervasive the need is when we think about social workers.
Yeah, I'm sure we could provide all of that as well, dig into a little bit more of just the practice in the state. But we are in schools, we're in, corporate offices. Many have private practices where they see patients. So there's a wide variety. In fact, there aren't enough in schools, I think most people would argue. We certainly have specialty areas, treatment centers, residential facilities, et cetera. So it's a pretty wide mix. For social work at large, my organization just represents the clinical side of that, but even in that setting.
Thank you.
So, I would assume that all the practices, it would broaden their reach and scope, and to go into rural Georgia to be able to provide care there as well. Not because I'm assuming if you don't have this, you're basically located in the cities, right? In Atlanta, they have more of a, whether it's more needs, I suppose, or more.
I would
clients.
say we have probably a concentration of providers in urban areas and more need in rural parts of the state. Yes, absolutely.
And there's 2 states now. I'm assuming there'll be more states coming in to.
Correct. I think there are 25 that have active legislation or are looking at passing exactly what we're doing here. So the goal would be maybe by the end of this session or this calendar year that there would be enough states in the compact to actually get it launched and operational. We can only control us, of course, but.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Any more questions from the witness? All right, thank you, Ms. Lord, for testifying. Ms. Johnson, can you come back? We have Representative Donahue has a question.
And thank you. I just couldn't get my finger in the mic over here quick
That's all
enough.
right. I'm like, they didn't ask me any questions.
Yes, ma'am. Well, everyone's doing a great job. Tell me a little bit about Tela. How much do you charge? How much do you get? How much are you paid? Do you fall under an umbrella that you listen 15-minute segments or 30 or an hour? And what's the rate if you and I are looking at each other on our telephones or TV or whatever?
Okay, my personal rate is $140 to $200 per session. But I am on about 9 different insurance panels. So my clients usually pay about $35. Sometimes their copay is $0. But if they don't have insurance, then I also have a sliding fee scale. But for those who can afford it and I'm not covered under their insurance and they just want to see me anyway, they would have to pay that rate.
Okay, so, and thank you. So basically, if a session is 15 minutes, 30, an
A session
hour,
is I do a free 15-minute consultation just
Okay.
to find out if I'm right for you or we're a good fit. But my sessions are 45 minutes to 1 hour. So the initial session can take about 90 minutes. So that's where the 200 might come in.
Okay.
Because, just to talk with them initially to find out what's going on. Because everything cannot be handled via telehealth.
That's
If you
right.
say you thought about suicide 2 weeks ago, I can't see you online. I'm going to ask you to go and see somebody in person. And so that's why I think also it's good for this Interstate Compact bill, because when you develop a good relationship with someone and you're really making a lot of progress, they get a new job, they move to a new state, and then they have to start all over from scratch with someone that they don't know. I'm licensed in D.C. as well by endorsement, as he said, but with the Compact bill, it wouldn't just be that one state. I have a multi-state license. So I won't have to go to each state asking them, can I provide services in your state? So that's why we really need something like that so that we can reach the masses. Everybody in like he was saying with the I can't think of the name. With the rural areas, telehealth. Because I might not be able to get to you, but if you're in the state of Georgia, or if I'm providing that service in another state in the Interstate Compact, well, I can provide that service to you. And that might eliminate a barrier such as transportation and access to healthcare services.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, just one quick thing. Do you have insurers that have limits on number of visits?
Not really.
Okay.
Just as long as you do it within that year, and it's
Okay.
up to me to decide how long we're going to meet.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, is there any other comments or anyone else wants to speak? We have a substitute for HB 466. We're going to pass that out so everyone has it. And this is a hearing only on HB 839? Yep. Yeah, we're not going to hear anything else. Okay. So we're done. Okay. Yeah. 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 Sorry. Everyone got the so everyone's got the sub for HB 466. Is there any further business for the committee? Then we're adjourned. Thank you.